You have been listening to the OMG podcast with Paul Finkelstein. We can help you build wealth without hogging your time. Schedule a one-on-one with us. Thanks for listening. Join us again for another OMG podcast segment.
Everybody, good morning. Happy Friday, TJF. Today we have an amazing interview with an accounting and bookkeeping service professional. Her name is Alice Mensch. She's a amazing member of OMG Biz Cafe. We even anointed her double ambassador. Ask me what that is later. You can read about a double ambassador at omgtalk.com and scroll through and look through all of the print. Let me go into the studio, take off our, here we go. And we are in the studio. You can see on the screen Alice Mensch, wide and big. Alice Mensch, how are you? Test your microphone.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can see you at the OMG Biz Cafe. I'll even put up your name there so people can see it in lights. So welcome, Alice Mensch, to OMG Biz Cafe, and everybody else, our visitors, whether you're an entrepreneur, small business owner, workaholic professional, you're in the right place at the right time. And if you would like to be our spotlight feature, all you need to do is go to omgtalk.com and click on the top link. If you can figure it out, then you can get here. Or feel free to text me and put talk show at 561-302 0051. I might not answer now because we are online. I use my phone for the audio. So Alice, let's dive in and learn all about you. I have a bunch of questions that I can't wait to ask you. Let's see. Let's start off with the beginning of your journey. Can you share a bit about your personal journey and what led you to where you are today?
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it. And thanks so much for having me on here. This is fantastic what you set up here. So I come at bookkeeping and accounting from a little bit different angle, maybe. I started out actually as an industrial designer. I have a BFA in industrial design, but I also got a minor in industrial management from Carnegie Mellon. And then I moved on. I did a lot of design work. I actually have 16 patents to my name. And then eventually moved on into marketing and the business of design. And then I got an MBA, and then I've sold a couple of businesses myself, and I helped other people as well. And then that's how I transitioned into more of the accounting and bookkeeping role. So, and I have a partner who I've just partnered up with Ledger Max Growth Advisors, Donnie Fraser, and she comes at it from more of the deep accounting experience. Started out sort of at a lower level accounting job right out of college. But worked her way up to managing teams and running full audits. So together we really come at it from both sides of the accounting, the bookkeeping side, but also the fractional CFO side.
So tell us, Alice, what inspired you to launch Ledger Max Growth Advisors?
Well, so I actually had a bookkeeping business on my own before this, and I met Donnie at a conference last July and June, actually, believe it or not. And we got to talking, and our strengths were so complementary that I realized we could really offer our clients. We've combined our firms, offer our clients more of a more holistic approach, not just bookkeeping, but the strengths of two people being able to review their financials and their accounting from two different viewpoints, and just wanting to, I see a lot of bad bookkeeping out there. I hate to say it. A lot of people know how to use, let's say, QuickBooks. They're pro advisors. Doesn't mean they really know accounting. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. I think a lot of people really need clean, crystal clear books, and they don't have it. So I see a big opportunity.
Right. Okay. And here's our third question for you on deck. What core problems are you solving for business owners with Ledger Max?
Well, I think a lot of, not all business owners, but I think a lot of business owners, they're caught up running their business, right? Which is what they should be doing. But in doing that, you can often lose sight of your financials. You can often, you think you know what's going on in your business, but that doesn't mean you necessarily do know what's happening in your business. So really getting in there and clean financials and helping you make decisions is what we're really all about. It's not just, oh, great set of books at the end of the month and my taxes are done. Remember, the taxes don't necessarily reflect what's happening in your accounts and your business. So it's going beyond just your taxes and really understanding what's happening in your business so that you can grow.
That is amazing information to know, especially if you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, workaholic professional. Tell your boss too, if you're one of those workaholic professionals or an employee, maybe they want to pay attention to Alice. Our next question, what does the name LedgerMax Growth Advisors mean? I guess, how did you come up with this name?
Okay, yeah. We thought a lot about that name. So a ledger is your accounts, right? And so we want to maximize your accounts so that you can grow. So there's a lot of data in your books you don't realize, just like we were talking a moment ago. I think, again, people think that, or some business owners may think that they know everything that's going on in their books. But really, when you get into it and start looking at it, there's things you don't know. I've had clients, I had one lady that, she had a couple of buildings, she had a couple of rental units, and she had a gardener, cleaning up the building. Well, he was triple charging her. So, we found $4,000. And that can pay for a lot of your accounting and bookkeeping, but also, we found some other things. I see this over and over and over again with clients. There's always surprises that you think you knew, but you don't until it's actually in numbers and on the paper. Did I answer your question?
I think so. It was just about how you came up with your name.
Yeah.
I'll just as a little, maybe not really a commercial break, but in case people were wondering, why am I talking with a bus behind me? And it may have been to my former business, which is I'm not even going to talk about because the show is all about Alice. But it fits with my theme that it's on the go for doing a small business owner podcast and our online talk show, our live talk show. It's on the go because you can call in with your phone number. I make it so non-high tech for all of our guests to do the audio version by calling in with just your phone. So the audio is hopefully always working. And then the video comes from our Skyliverse. If you've not seen our Skyliverse at our pool deck, you could remote in at our beachside pool deck. So if you've not visited our pool, you should do that. But let's go dive into some more questions. We have a ton of them, so we can make this a very valuable show for you to even want to listen to Alice later if you're not available and you have an appointment at 10 o'clock in the morning as well. So how does your background in finance and entrepreneurship shape the firm's direction, Alice?
Yeah, I think I touched on that a little bit before, just from my different perspective. I have a lot of experience, again, running businesses, small, medium-sized businesses. And I feel that, I can speak the owner's language. And I've experienced this quite a bit with my other clients, I'm not just looking at your books, LedgerMax, it's your books, but what's going on in your books, what's going on in your wider business. It's always a conversation about what's happening in your wider business and how that's affecting your financials and how your financials are affecting that. So it's, I feel I can bring that to the table for my clients. I think that they appreciate that I have that operational mindset. So I'm not just asking you what's this expense for. It's why are we doing that? Why is your inventory like that? Why are your sales like that, etc.
Yeah, we have a ton of questions to ask you. They might all blend together, but at the same time, you could pivot and talk about other perceptions for it.
Sure.
What does growth advisory mean to you, and how is that different from traditional bookkeeping?
So bookkeeping and accounting, maybe we should talk about the differences for a moment. So bookkeeping is more historical facing, right? You're categorizing your expenses, you're entering your revenues and all of that. But it's looking back in time, right? What happened last month, last year? Whereas accounting is more let's take a look at your books, at your profit and loss, your cash flow, your balance sheet, and see what's happening in your business and how your business can improve. So this is a theme now within accounting. A lot of people are, with automation and AI and things that are coming up, books are becoming quicker and easier to do. It's true. So where is the value? The value is interpreting those books. So that's the growth advisory, is the interpretation of your financials to help you make decisions.
Awesome. So tell us, what's the hidden cost of doing your own bookkeeping, and how does it show up in your business?
Oh, that's a great question. A lot of I do come across a lot of people, smaller business owners. They will run their own books themselves, and as they grow, obviously it becomes a little more complicated. There's more transactions. They're trying to keep up. Maybe there's some connections within their books. They run an online store, whatever. Having to get that all set up correctly and run correctly. Your books can get away from you really quickly. And like that example I just told you about, then that was a small example. The lady who had the couple of buildings, this is in Coral Gables, Florida, couple of buildings, and that wasn't the only that wasn't the only thing we found to save her money, right? There were some other things. She wasn't taking deductions she could have. Just by looking at her books, I was, why aren't you expensing this? Oh, I didn't know I could. Those kinds of things. And I think when you bring in a professional, and a lot of people say, oh, well, it's money every month that I can do it myself, whatever. Except you make mistakes. It costs you money at the end of the year is basically what's happening. And you're not able to spot opportunities. I mean, you're sort of flying blind, really, because, you don't, if you were going to hire an attorney, you would, if you're going to, maybe you need to do something with an attorney, you hire an attorney. You don't just go to court and do yourself, right? So, I think people can dismiss the value of good bookkeeping. And then there's a lot of bad bookkeeping out there. Maybe that's why that happens, because
An ounce of prevention, a pound of cure, right? I mean, the reason for hiring a professional, because like the plumber, why does it cost the plumber so much money to do something that you needed 10 minutes worth of time, but they knew where to weld.
they have the tools.
They knew where to
Right,
weld,
they had the tools.
where to
They
hold the
have the
blowtorch.
knowledge.
Yeah.
That would take me all day plus another day, right? So, right, to do something like that. So yeah, I mean, it comes down to, you could spend the time better running your business and have a professional take care of it for you. And by the way, the professional is going to do it quicker, faster, better, and accurately. Whereas if you're doing it yourself, you could spend 6-8 hours running putting together books. Maybe they're not correct. You get to the end of the year. And a lot of it, maybe a lot of CPAs, they kind of fudge things and you really don't know what's happening. Not that that's bad. They're just trying to get your taxes done, right? They're doing their job. A CPA is not a bookkeeper. They are filing your taxes. They're not telling you how you're doing it.
All right, so let's tell how messy or delayed books block business growth, even when sales are strong.
We were touching on that a little bit before, right? So how can you know where you're going? How can you know what you're doing? How can you plan or do anything if you don't have your numbers straight? I know a lot of people do, by the seat sort of. A lot of people are working in their business right now, and they're busy. Their business is thriving, but what they don't know is what they don't know, right? So when you delay your books, when you're kind of running blind, it's like you're driving a car and maybe there's dust all over the windshield, right? You can't exactly see everything. So, and then you get to the end of the year and it's more expensive with your CPA because they're asking you questions and where is this and what is that and why did you do that, etc. But, if you present a clean set of books, it's, you get your taxes done right away. My goal is always to have everybody's, got to get 1099s out right at the end of January, obviously. But then, let's have everything done and move on with next year. Let's start planning for next year, right? Which we should have done Q3, Q4 anyways, but you know what I mean?
I have more questions to ask you, but with just the last 8 questions that we've asked so far, Would you venture to say that perhaps we've saved somebody $10,000 at least
I highly
in
encourage people to.
value?
Thank you, Paul. I mean, I really encourage. I just meet so many people that are like, oh, I know how to do that. Oh, at least consult with a bookkeeper. Just talk to somebody. Ask them. Please review. What do you think? Maybe you don't have to hire them right away, but I'm having a great meeting this afternoon. Right after this, I'm so refreshing. I can't tell you. I'm having a new client meeting. We're not quite ready to go yet, and that's fine. But what's great is he called me up. I'm not quite ready to go, but I know this guy actually told me this. I know that I would need really clean financials to run my business. Can you at least get me set up with QuickBooks so that when he's a subscription-based business, when he starts, and he's not quite ready to take them yet, when he starts getting subscriptions, everything will be running cleanly. He told me this, and I will be able. Can you help me strategize? Can you help me? It was so refreshing. I mean, that is like a bookkeeper's dream to get that kind of call. Like, I can't work with you yet because I don't have the revenues, but at least set me up so that when I get the revenues and come back to you, everything is set up and we don't have a mess.
What are signs?
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. What are signs that a business owner is underestimating the strategic value of their financials?
Oh, simply put, they don't have a handle on their financials. Do they know their if they're selling things, which of their products are giving them the highest margin, which is costing them most, which one has the most returns. Do you know all that? If you know that, just those three things, right? Let's say you sell 50 widgets and you know those three things right there. You're going to make some strategic decisions about those three widgets that you maybe wouldn't have made otherwise. And you may think one product is doing really well, but then you go back and you look and wait a minute, hold on, there's some costs there I didn't realize were being attributed to that or whatever. Examples, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I hope I answered your question. I got a lot.
Yeah, we have a ton more. So can you share another personal previous story? I know you said you're going to meet with somebody soon today, but could you share a story where hiring a professional bookkeeper made a measurable difference in their business or a business?
Let me think. So I did have one client that what happened to them? They were really growing, but they weren't paying attention. Yeah, this is always a problem. Inventory is something special. Whenever you have inventory, you really need to be paying attention to your inventory levels. They were growing, but they didn't realize that there were expenses related to the inventory that they didn't realize. I think I just touched on that. They didn't realize that were building up. So, and they wanted to hire someone, but all of a sudden their expenses are increasing. Right? We had to go and find out what that was. And when we were able to determine what was happening, we cut those expenses. I think it took a little time to run through, right? Because they had the inventory. And because of that, they were actually able to hire a person, which then they were able to I think it was a salesperson. They increased again their sales. You know what I mean? So it was a great win-win. They saved money and then were able to make the hire. So, an inventory is like that. That's anytime you've got a business with inventory, I highly recommend you work with an accounting, a professional bookkeeping and accounting, a professional, because inventory can get away from you very quickly.
Right. Even if some of the questions might blend in, I'm sure there's always more that you could add.
Yeah, I know there's always more details and things you can
show,
add.
Especially a detail-minded accounting bookkeeper like yourself. For someone who's hesitant to spend the money on professional bookkeeping, how do you explain the return on investment or ROI on that?
Yeah, again, like you said, it does blend together. It can be difficult. I try and show the value, like, the value of what, and again, I get a lot of people say, oh, well, it's, my books are so simple, this and that. And yeah, maybe they are. But as you grow, they're going to become less simple. So I try to talk to people about the value of not having to worry about doing the work yourself, which is several hours a week or a month, depending, what your business is, and B, having that person there, right? I love to talk to people about their business. So, it's not just, I'm not just giving you your books, here's your profit and loss. It's there's, depending on, excuse me, how you're working with us, there's a conversation every month, right? Like, let's talk about what happened. Okay, what's that initiative over there that you're doing? And you're not, yeah, that's, so A, you're getting very clean books. You're getting the ability to make strategic decisions and grow. And you've got the headache off your plate. So now you can pay more attention to your company and grow it. So I see those all as great values for any bookkeeping and accounting professional you use. Again, like you said, the plumber, you could fix under the sink yourself, but my goodness, is that something you, and a lot of people hate doing it anyways. They hate their books. They just hate it. I love it. So,
Right.
but yeah, I
My
think,
mom, even when she was alive, she was a CPA, an MBA like yourself, and a CFP, and she loved putting in numbers in those tiny boxes on actual paper ledger
oh,
sheets.
sure.
I don't even
Yeah,
know if
no,
you
that's,
still use any paper ledger sheets at time to time, or
no,
only
no.
on Excel
But
spreadsheets.
you'd be amazed how much work is done in Excel. Truly, it's amazing. It's a lot of work in accounting is done in Excel. I'm always a little bit surprised. You're constantly pulling out reports, well, at least for the accounting side, right? And also the bookkeeping side to check things. But it's amazing how much is done in Excel. And I mean, nowadays we have programs like QuickBooks and Xero. I don't know if you're familiar. Xero is not as popular, but Xero. They're a little bit different from each other, but I think that's another good, interesting point to make, related to the question you just asked me. Actually, is again, I see a lot of people out there who say that they're, I don't want to say negative things, but just because someone says they're a QuickBooks Pro Advisor, that means that they have taken a certification to know how to use QuickBooks. It does not mean that they're a bookkeeper. So I just encourage anyone out there listening that if you're going to hire a bookkeeper, make sure they understand bookkeeping. I'm QuickBooks Pro certified. You might as well be, right? I know how to use the software. Doesn't mean that I know how to use properly applied debits and credits, accruals and deferrals and journal entries, right? That's something a bookkeeper knows how to do, not someone who's necessarily certified to use a piece of software. So just something to keep in mind if you're looking for a good bookkeeper. Ask them questions. How would you handle my books? What can you take a look at have them review your books? We do book reviews. If you want your books reviewed and just see, maybe you want a second opinion, we do that all the time. So ask. Talk.
Right. You know what's great is you cannot get a second opinion for the person who gave you the first opinion.
Well, it's not. Yeah, I know you're supposed to give somebody else, but I encourage you. I mean, reach out to me if you want your books reviewed. My partner, I can review for you and tell you, hey, your bookkeeper's fantastic, or hey, maybe you should do this. Doesn't mean you need to hire us per se, but we do that kind of work as well, and lots of cleanup work. And that's why I'm maybe saying some of the things I do is we have so much cleanup work that we do. It's amazing. Not only from people who are behind on their books, but maybe they've had a bad bookkeeper and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, can you please help me clean this up? So yeah, there's a lot out there.
Let's ask you one more question, and then we'll take a mini commercial break in the middle, which is at the halfway point at 10:30. So here's the last question before our little mini commercial break. What role does bookkeeping play in giving business owners their time back?
Right. So yeah, we've touched on that a couple of times, but I think it's a great point to make again, is think about your mindset for your business. A lot of people work in their business, not on their business. Take those 3 or 4 hours a week or a month or whatever that is that you are spending doing your books, which you are most likely not doing as efficiently as you could, if I can put it politely that way, and pass it off to a professional who are not that expensive relative to the value you're going to get, and spend those 3-4 hours weekly, monthly, whatever it is, on your business. And your bookkeeper can help you, your accountant, somebody like me, a professional, can help you with those types of things, those operational types of things that you could do based on your financials, on your clean financials. So it's really about taking back time strategically, or maybe for yourself, even maybe you need that personal time. You work 80 hours a week. I don't know. Or put it back into building your business, not just running it.
Thank you for that. And so let's take a mini break to catch our breaths, relax a little bit, take a sip of water, or those people that are feverishly taking notes from the valuable information that probably saves somebody maybe $10,000 or maybe even $100,000 just from listening for the first half hour of Alice Mensch here, Bookkeeper and Accounting Services. We shouldn't use the word bookkeeper and throw it around loosely after everything that we just heard so far. So our only commercial message today, it's just me and the audience. If we had another small business owner, entrepreneur, or workaholic professional, they would have had the opportunity at 10:30 mark to give us their 1 minute commercial pitch, if they will, how they solve problems in their business community or our business community. Because frankly, all of the guests that we have are OMG Biz Cafe members. If you'd like to be a member of OMG Biz Cafe, it's free. Just text 561-302-0051. That's 561-302-0051 and put talk show. And for the very first live talk show for your business, it's free. And then here's the little pitch, if any, is that after your first one, which could be up to an hour for free, then I have a special offer for small businesses or entrepreneurs to claim 3 more of them for $99. 3 of these full hour sessions or a 10-minute or 10-minute quickie interview on a live talk show streamed on YouTube or LinkedIn for $99. And then, hey, wait, I'm going to sound like Crazy Eddie for a second. If anybody's ever heard of it, you'll get a 4th one, and that'll be for free if and when you send us another business that would like a free introductory one that could be an hour for their business, and they could also take up on that offer. So if that offer sounds wonderful, I encourage you, Alice, or anybody you know to take me up on
Sounds
it to
great.
get the first free one. And then the next 3 are $99, and then they'll get a 4th one for free. When they send us another small business owner that's also a colleague, it could be a client of yours as well.
Sure. I love it.
And I got all that in under a minute, I think. So
that's good, Paul.
Exactly.
Where's your pig? Where's the pig?
I know, right? Where's the pig? I guess
or the cone.
Pig not needed, because we've trained ourselves to not hog the time while building your wealth. As Alice is also building your wealth as well. So all of you guys are listening on the Skylar Network, the Alignable Network, the LinkedIn Network, the Facebook Network, wherever you're located. Competition is welcome. Bring it on. So let's dive in. Ready, Alice, for a few more questions to round out the hour here. And then also the momentum will be so exciting. Your next client won't know what hit him with all the energy we're giving here today. So let's try to save somebody out there another $10,000 or maybe even $100,000, and they could cut down. Maybe they're paying their employee too much money, and they're a current bookkeeper, and it might be less. I don't know how much it costs for bookkeeping, but I imagine some people pay a lot and some people pay a little in that market too.
Well, I think that's a good question, actually. What are some typical rates for bookkeeping? You can get QuickBooks Live. I don't know if people are familiar with that. I think it's a couple $100 a month, and it's a nightmare. I mean, I have met so many people that have used it. Basically, what it is they have I actually have met people that are QuickBooks Live bookkeepers themselves. It's a great place to sort of cut your teeth if you wanted to get into bookkeeping. If there's anybody out here listening to that, I encourage you to go check out QuickBooks Live. It's a great place to sort of get in there and sort of cut your teeth on their software. Again, you're not a bookkeeper, you know how to use their software, but there's other resources out there. So you can go from very cheap. There's actually some automation coming in. There's AI coming in that can categorize. QuickBooks does have a little bit of automation in it. But I think really around between $300 and $500 a month would probably be like a low end, and you can all the way up into the thousands of dollars a month. If we have a couple of mid-sized clients that really need the support, You know,
Would you be a big proponent in the business philosophy of it takes money to make money?
it takes strategic money to make money. Again, the great point, Paul, playing right into everything I'm saying actually, is if you don't know where you are, if you don't, right, in your business, how the hell are you, excuse me, how are you going to invest, right? Because you don't, you don't know what's coming and what's going. But yeah, yes, you should spend, like, and it goes back to the professional, hiring a professional, right? You're going to get the value and you're going to get your time back. So,
Who doesn't want to buy time back? Because we know life truly is short. Even if you made it to 102, like my own grandmother, January 8th, she passed away, and now it's
wow,
March. But 102, I really can't complain at the
sorry to
long
hear
life.
that.
Thank you so much for that as
Well, you're
well.
lucky to have her. My goodness.
Yeah,
Wow.
we're lucky to have her
Wow.
the last 5 years. We lost my mom before that in 2019, and then
I
my
remember you
grandmother
mentioned,
till
yeah.
102.
Wow.
For sure. So anybody going through that, life is short. So if your bookkeeping
Sure is.
is
Get your
off
time back.
kilter, get your time back so that you
Yeah.
could use it
Yeah.
where you want to use it. Maybe you want to take more vacations. Maybe you don't want to be in the office as much. Maybe you want to grow your business and spend your time on revenue producing things instead of the tedious things that Alice loves to do. How does financial clarity change a business owner's confidence level?
Well, I think it's, I mean, you can see it. I've seen it so many times. You go from not being sure of decisions to much more sure, right? There's always risk. We never know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Obviously. But I think it's that ability to have those extra solid data points, very good data points, right? They're your data points. Why not know what they are? There's so much there. It's just, I feel it's always ignored. Like, oh, it's just the books. It's how, if you don't know how to read your profit and loss, ask your accounting professional. Say, can you review this with me? I don't know. Why is my balance sheet like this? Don't be afraid of your balance sheet. Your balance sheet tells you what you have. I know a lot of people hear that and they're like, they buzz over, their glass, glass, whatever.
Hey,
But
you
don't.
go ahead. You even said people know what's going to happen, and I was just thinking in my mind, my crystal ball is still in the shop. I don't know about yours, so most
Well,
people
no, I
don't
don't
know
mean
what's going to happen.
you don't know. No, I meant you don't know what's. I don't know what. I apologize if I misspoke, but
No,
maybe you don't know
didn't.
what's going to
Yeah.
happen. Okay. Oh, okay. But in other words, your crystal ball is a little less. It has been polished a little bit, right? It's fuzzy, but maybe there's some polish there, and you can, Paul. I mean, you definitely can make better decision when you know your numbers. There's just no way around it, and there's always going to be a surprise in there.
And that
Trust me.
surprise is exactly what I was getting at with the crystal ball. Is that
Yeah.
I've heard the expression that life happens when you're making other plans, and that
Yeah.
crisis plans are never expected. So being prepared for those crises, people can make calculated risk and calculated investments so they could be more prepared for the unexpected. How could professional bookkeeping help a business prepare for the unexpected opportunities of crisis, which is our next question?
Yes. So yeah, great segue into that. I think that when you have clean books and you can read your financials and you can know what's going on, it's you can put yourself in a strong cash position if you need that. If you have clean books, here's a great example. Let's say you need to go get a loan, or there's a grant, or there's some opportunity for a loan type thing situation, and you don't have clean books. I've talked to a lot of people who've lost grants because they don't have clean books. They cannot go get the grants, and they miss hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we actually had somebody earlier this year. He had some grants he was trying to get, and he refused to update his book. It was a pain in the butt. Excuse me. And he came to us, and we were really unable to help him in time for that grant. It was just too short a time period. So being prepared for those types of opportunities that come down the road. And yeah, if there's a crisis, you need a loan, right? Let's say you need some sort of loan or something. Maybe you lost a big chunk of your revenue, and you got to make payroll. you're going to have to go to the bank with, a statement of cash flows and a balance sheet and profit and loss and your books and they're going to want to see. So, nobody's going to hand out money without knowing your position. So I think you can definitely, you need that. You don't know what's coming.
What are some long-term risks of ignoring or underinvesting in a professional bookkeeper?
Well, you can get down to the end of things, and well, I have met people who haven't done their taxes in 3 years. I mean, that's a pretty significant risk, literally. And then when they find out the bill to to do their books,
Sticker shock?
one lady, it was a big sticker shock, man, and I'm not talking $300. Like, we had to give her an estimate of around $10,000 because she had complicated books, and she just did not want to deal with it. And I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, I couldn't win, and we were struggling. I mean, it was a very complicated situation, and she had just let it run. So that's, you're going to end up. It's, yes, you can avoid those kinds of things, but I think really getting ahead of things in life and being on, having and it's not hard to do. A bookkeeper can do it so easily for you. They can take care of it for you.
Why is
and then it's done.
bookkeeping one of the first areas a growing business should delegate?
Yeah, because when you have that set up properly, first of all, you're not doing any cleanup. Cleanup is expensive. Cleaning up books are expensive, period. Because it's like, when you're renovating an old house, it's always more expensive to work around the column and, work around that hole for the window, and maybe there's, some, wood rot in the corner, or I don't know, whatever it is, right? But, when you've got a clean, solid structure to start with, you're not having to go back and fix things later. It's just more efficient, time efficient, and plus what's going on immediately. Immediately you're seeing, and I encourage business owners. We may talk about this later, but we haven't touched on it yet. Spend half an hour with your profit and loss balance. Let's review your books for half an hour a month. That's it. Spend half an hour just looking at what's going on. And you're going to start to have questions, and then you can talk to your professional, and that's going to lead to things you didn't expect, which are good things. It's always a positive thing.
I'm glad you said professionals. So how do clean books support the collaboration of other professionals like CPAs, lenders, advisors?
But yeah, we touched on that a little bit, right? So your clean books, it's every CPA loves it when you bring them a clean set of books. Because then they can actually, that's a good referral for us, actually, our CPAs that are looking for a solid bookkeeping accounting firm that we do the books correctly, so that they can take on more clients later if they don't have bookkeeping and accounting in-house. So that's a great referral for us. They love us because they know that when they get their books, and we're responsive too, right? So it's not just a toss it over the fence, right? So, answering whatever questions need to be answered. And, that goes to exactly what you're saying. We'll work with your CPA. Your bookkeeper should work directly with your CPA. Your bookkeeper should work with your payroll provider. They should work, if there's somebody that come in like you, somebody that helps with financial planning, the bookkeeper can provide, the accounting professional can provide reports, maybe about the business owner's position so that they can make some other financial decisions. So there's a whole host of ways that we work with other types of professionals, and they come to us too.
Mm-hmm.
So
why do you believe business owners should see their books as a growth tool, not just as a compliance task?
Yeah, I get that so much. So many business owners just think, oh, I got to get my taxes done. Okay, great. You had some money coming in. I mean, there's a little more complicated than that, but it's literally profit and loss, that very sort of simple calculation. And your taxes don't always reflect your books either, right? So your books are your accounting of your business. They're the story of your business. They're what's occurred and the possibility of what you could do later. Look, we're making money in that area. Let's expand that area. But how do you know that unless you know what's happening in your book?
Alice, I don't know if you've met, but we have Brian Colburn in the room.
Hi,
He
Brian.
just
Yes.
entered. He's one of our community members at OMG Biz Cafe, also a community member, a strong community member of the Scholar Network. Just wanted to acknowledge him in the room. And we'll continue on with our interview. Maybe we'll give him a minute toward the end after our questions for you. So let's go on to the next one. What's one financial concept you think every business owner needs to understand, but often doesn't?
I think cash flow is a tricky one. It's something that I think people hear the word cash flows and they just don't want to deal with it. It's, just think of it this way. You've got sales, but when are you collecting that cash? And, you can easily have a cash gap. So you want to be paying attention to not only your sales, but it's when you're paid and when are your expenses due, and any other possibilities of something unexpected happening, right? Do you want to be in a position to be able to cover those things? So it's not just what's coming in the bank. It's sure a lot of people look at their bank balance and that's how they're telling their profits. But it's really
speaking of which, that ties into another question we have for you, which is, can you break down the difference between profit and cash flow in a way that clicks with business growth?
I'll try. So profits, what you're earning on paper, right? That's the simple. Yes, I earned X on paper last month, but the cash flow is when is that collected? So if you have let's say you had it's very simple, like $10,000, but that's due to you, but it's not due for 90 days. You're going to have expenses in between that you need to cover. So you better have the cash, or maybe it's 60 days, whatever it is. You better have the cash in your bank to cover your expenses while you're waiting for that money to come in. So that's I don't know if that kind of explains it, but seeing that gap there, understanding that there can be a gap there, and to watch for that.
Let's ask another question for you.
Yeah, sure.
What are the most common financial mistakes you see small and mid-sized businesses make?
Yeah, we've touched on a couple of these, but let's touch on them again for sure. Delaying your bookkeeping, not doing any bookkeeping. Make sure you hire a professional bookkeeper. Again, like I said, not somebody that's just certified as a pro advisor, but they actually know bookkeeping. I think there's some bookkeeping quizzes out there you can find to give a potential bookkeeper. I'm actually working on a questionnaire for business owners to ask their bookkeeper that I'm gonna hopefully publish pretty soon. Like sort of a guide. Relying on your gut again. You think you know what's going on, and you may actually know. That may have worked for a long time, but as you grow, or maybe as you expand, or maybe even shrink a little because of whatever's going on, whoops, surprise! There's some surprises in there that you maybe don't want to hear or don't want to see. Here's a big one I forgot to mention, and I should have mentioned this before. Never mix personal and business, please. As I'm going to beg everyone listening, if you have a business, get a separate bank account. I cannot tell you how many business owners I meet that they have, or if you had separate EINs, if you have separate businesses, run them from separate books. You cannot mix EINs, and don't mix your personal. It just makes that is where the cost of bookkeeping gets really high, because you have to have somebody sit there one by one transaction and figure out which one's personal, and then I have to ask the client, and which one's very expensive. Keep it clean. Get yourself a separate bank account and just use that, and the credit card, only use that for your business. It takes some time, but people get it pretty quickly once they start.
Time goes really fast, and we have about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Oh. Do you have to stop at 11, or do you have time to go a little bit past there?
I can go a little bit further, yeah.
Okay, just checking. because we have a
Yeah,
few
no,
more questions to go past the top
sure.
of the
And
hour.
whenever you're done, Paul, I mean, I'm sure I could talk for another 3 hours. So.
Oh, great.
No, I don't want to.
We'll do 3 hours. Sorry, Brian. You'll have to wait till
But
the end of 3 hours
Brian's
before
gonna
we
go home.
hear from him. We're also streaming, by the way, so your face or replication of your face, if this is your picture, will be seen on broadcast on LinkedIn as well as YouTube now. So, Alice, how do you help business owners who feel overwhelmed by their financials and get clarity on and confidence?
Yeah, sure. Let's sit down and have a conversation. Let's sit down. Let's open your books up. Let's see what. First of all, let me review your books. Let us review your books. Then let's sit down and have a detailed conversation about what is your business, what's happening in your business, what are your plans, what are your hopes and dreams for your business, right? All those are all very important. And let's sit down and talk about what's happening. Let's do a thorough review. Let's get everything sorted out and together, and then we'll be able to present you with clean financials, and then everything moves from there. So it seems overwhelming, but when you hire a professional who does this every day, and to me, I enjoy it. It's like a puzzle. It's a lot of bookkeeping. I mean, the reconciliation. I mean, it's like a puzzle. It's fantastic. So pass it over to somebody who loves it and wants to do it for you, right? So that's passionate about it, because when you're fighting something, you just you're fighting it.
There's some initials that could be confusing to business owners, but what one boring, powerful financial habit that you encourage all clients to adopt?
Yeah, no, that's the review your books. Get your books done cleanly and review them every month. I really encourage you. Take a look at what's happening. Look under the hood. That is the meat of what's happening with your business. And if you don't know what's going on, you can do things. You can continue the way whatever you've been doing in the past. But I mean, I strongly recommend, or just take some time every month. Look at your books. What's happening? Review.
Is there one thing that clients don't know that their bookkeeper could help with? I bet you could think of more than one.
Oh, sure. One thing with Mike. Well, I mean, I hate to. I mean, people know a lot of things, right? Just because I'm a bookkeeper doesn't mean that I only have the lock on bookkeeping and accounting, right? One thing my clients don't know, but I wish that they did. There's so many ways to. It's not that it's okay. Once you get systems set up, it's not that hard to get out of your books what you want out of them. I think it seems like a hurdle to people, and it's just not. It's something you tackle, you set up properly, and then you're moving forward. And I think that's a hurdle that people have trouble getting over.
Especially identifying unnecessary expenses, perhaps?
Oh, that kind of thing. Sure, I see where you're going. There's tax deductions they don't know about. Tax deductions they're taking that they shouldn't, right? I see a lot. That's actually even worse. I see a lot of that. Well, why can't I deduct that? Because that's not deductible. And the IRS is going to come back and say, no, you can't deduct that. Yeah, those kinds of things. Like the lady I said that found the $4,000 from the people who are taking care of her properties. She went on vacation. She's like, oh, I'm going to go on vacation. So, yeah, there's a lot. I see your question. There's a lot of unknowns in your books that you just don't know about. You don't know what you don't know.
That's my mother's favorite expression. I think that's another accountant peer that we know, Sherry White, always says, and my mom used to say, you don't know what you don't know. So it's great to hear a third person. And I've heard many people say it, but how many people actually implement that in their best practices? Okay, our next question. How do you explain key financial statements like a P&L and a balance sheet in a way that's actionable?
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to get to real world, to metrics that can give you real world decisions, right? So if you're looking at your profit and loss and your gross margin is dropping, why? Let's find out why. I had an experience with a client. Check this out. They had a high performing product on their website. I think they had a Shopify site, if I remember. They had a high performing product on that site. This a suite of products, but this one set of products, and all of a sudden it's dropping, and we're like, what's going on? I pointed out. I said, wow, we pulled out the monthly, wow, it was a button on their website that wasn't working. So, I mean, it's small things like, I mean, it's, that's why, if they hadn't been looking 2, 3, 4 months down the road, how many sales are you going to lose? You lost them maybe a few weeks of sales, but what if you lose 6 months of sales because you weren't paying attention, you were letting it run. So, I try to walk clients through each section, and try to tie it directly to their business. So the numbers aren't just numbers. There's real world physical things that are happening out in the universe. Bye, Brian.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
He'll catch the read one. We'll put up the show also on the Scholar Network for those people that are in other meetings. I was thinking that the obvious, like the old joke or not so joke, that the engineer would just kick something to make something work, and find out that something was not plugged in, and you just said the button was not working. How do you use financial data to spot profit leaks or growth opportunities?
So you can track your cost of goods sold. You can analyze that month over month. If you're let's look at a trend, right? So dashboards, KPI dashboards. Let's say you have inventory, cost of goods sold is something that's particularly sensitive in your business, financially sensitive, right? So you need to monitor those levels. So let's build a dashboard that allows you to monitor over time your inventory levels or your cost of goods sold levels or whatever that is that you want to monitor. Outliers, looking for outliers in your financial data. I'm trying to think of one. Maybe labor hours, right? So maybe labor hours are going up. Why are they going up? What's happening in that department? Things like that. We've helped people, restructure their labor. Maybe they decide that they need to let somebody go, unfortunately, or hire someone. And that can actually be like, we don't have enough people helping us. Like, people are working too much overtime in that department. Overtime is expensive, right? So let's, okay, wow, let's hire this. So, that's how we try to, those are the kinds of things that occur when you work with someone who's watching this for you.
What's the common myth about bookkeeping or accounting that you wish would just disappear?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this. It's just for taxes. It drives me nuts. It drives me crazy. Okay, you got your books done for taxes. What'd you do to improve your business? Do you know where your business is? What's your ROI? Right? So, I think that's my biggest. That would be my. That would be one of my biggest. Yes, I wish that would go away. You need a professional.
How do you shift the mindset of clients who treat their books as an afterthought?
Again, if you can show people, well, first of all, let's do a review, or let me review your book, and let's see where you can add value, where a bookkeeper can add value. Some people don't need a bookkeeper, possibly. For sure, there are small business. Paul, there's small business owners. If you're a very small business owner, you maybe don't need a professional. But if you've got any sort of situation, you have an employee, 2 employees, 3 employees, sales, sales revenue, expenses piling up, or by demonstrating to people, to business owners, usually when I speak with them and I can talk to them about their books and what's happening in their business, I think they can demonstrate it. So, and just, if we can work with them, I cannot tell you how many times we find pretty much every client we have, we found something that's either saved them money or given them a way to boost their profits. It's very difficult to find examples where you're not tightening things up at least. And everybody knows that it's not just expense. Looking for, saving on expenses it's good, but really where you're making more money is by improving your products, improving your services, improving your revenue.
And I do have to put a comment up on the screen if you could see it. Brian, who was just here in the studio, he put on LinkedIn under the live broadcast. He loves how you use the Scalaverse in OMG Biz community. Hats off to Ron Sassoon for building this incredible platform.
Thanks, Ron.
So thanks for that comment. And now back to our regular show. I'll put Alice back up on the screen. Our spotlight interview today in an OMG Biz Cafe, bookkeeper and accounting services. Here's another question. What role does forecasting or budgeting play in client conversations?
Like this conversation I'll be having with this new client later today. It was so refreshing to hear him say, really what he was looking for was the ability to budget and forecast. Hats off, man. Like, that's fantastic. When you can see what's happened in the past and then budgeting forecast for your future, again, you can make a decision much more easily than if you than the fly by the pan of the seat method, which I see a lot of people doing. It's just, to me, it's so. And again, I think people have the hurdle of, I have to hire a bookkeeper. My books are kind of a mess. I haven't been paying attention. It's not such a big hurdle. Just talk to a professional. Talk to somebody. They'll give you. You'll gain so much from the conversation, and if you can get to the point in your business where you're doing that, you're really running your business. You're not just reacting. You're actually planning. You're moving forward. I mean, that's growth right there.
Alice, I think the first 9 questions we saved our viewers and audience at small business owners and entrepreneurs and workaholic professionals about $10,000. The last 10 questions, another $10,000. I think the fees that you charge to save all of this money, and I'm looking at my notes here, a ton more questions to ask. And if anybody out there that's a small business owner and they want to figure out how to save money and where to save the money and strategically do it, I think if anything, that should be a word of the day for our spotlight interviewee here for Alice Mensch, bookkeeper and accounting services, is strategic. And here's a question for you. What advice would you give to a business owner who has not built in any financial systems yet?
Go for it. Just go for it. Do it. Get yourself a set of QuickBooks. Hook up your bank account. It's not that hard. You can search online. How to do that. Just the QuickBooks has a ton of help articles. It's very simple. Set yourself up with a set of books. Get your bank account running through there, and start looking at what's happening. And then delegate. Talk to a professional. Actually, speak to the professional first, and then they can help you get set up if you can't do it yourself. Speak to the professional first. Honestly, Paul, for our clients, typically we're doing everything. The only thing the client is doing is matching an invoice to a payment and writing a check. So, and the reason that is because no offense to business owners, but when they get in there and start running their books themselves, they do it incorrectly. And we have to, again, you're back into cleanup. So hire a professional, get started. Don't be afraid. Know what's happening in your books. Be empowered. You can do it. So don't let it overwhelm you, and speak to someone. There's a lot of bookkeepers out there.
There's many business owners, small business owners, workaholic professionals that are running around like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to run their business. And if a business owner only
I'm
had
too busy.
time,
I'm too busy.
Yeah,
I'm too busy.
Mm-hmm.
I do it on the weekend. Why are you doing? Oh my God! I talked to a woman the other day. She's got 3 kids and she's running like 2 or 3 businesses. 2 businesses. One's bigger than the other. And she's like, yeah, Friday nights I do my bookkeeping. And I'm like, you have 3 children and you have revenues. Go spend some time with your children. And by the way, the 6 hours you spend Friday night, I can do it in 2. You know, I mean, it's just crazy to me. And by the way, we needed to recategorize a lot of transactions. It wasn't, she thought, but so it's you're wasting so much time.
So if you want to buy back time back, I'd suggest you have a conversation with Alice. But if you only had time,
yeah, we'll find you time. Yes, we will find you time. Definitely, that is something I can guarantee.
If they only had time to focus on one financial report, because maybe these financial reports could be scary, and if they could only focus on one financial report each month, which one would you pick and why for that small business owner?
That's a tough question. I want to say cash flows, but reading a statement of cash flows is not always the easiest, but that would be a great one to review with your accounting professional. I strongly recommend it. If you're uneasy about that, definitely at least look at your profit and loss in your balance sheet. Throw them in ChatGPT if you want. You have to make sure you have your controls correctly. Take your personal information off of it, but a lot of people do that as well. Review your books, especially with a professional is best. Have them make just ask for some commentary. And a good bookkeeper really should be doing that for you every month. They should be giving you your reports. You should be receiving we produce a nice set of financials. We have some applications we use, and sometimes even a video. I sometimes even make a video for my clients. I use AI. And you're going to get some insights into your books, and you're going to find out what happened. And even at the end of the year, wrapping that up. So just at least your profit and loss in your balance sheet, but if you can, your cash flow statement as well.
Sarah actually figured out that I can't resist that grandma invented AI. She went to 102 years old, and she said, "I," and then AI. I was
okay. I laughed. You made me laugh that time, Paul. That one I laughed at.
Yeah. So grandma.
Yeah. Especially being from Miami. Okay. Yeah.
Invented AI. So she gets the credit for that. The next several questions are going to be about mindset and operational advisory. And this is our last section. And I think that people are going to want to save this live chat radio. You can find it on LinkedIn and YouTube. And just go to omgtalk.com. You're not going to know if you're not familiar with our site right now. I might tighten it up, but the way it's now, it actually scares away scammers and people that are looking to pitch our members at OMG Biz Cafe. But which I kind of like. But when someone scrolls through the welcoming text, there's a box there that's got a little too much text in it, and a little small print. It says tap here. So if you know to tap on that box to go quickly through the small print, then you'll see the next screen is the link to YouTube and LinkedIn to watch this later. The LinkedIn, of course, will go down in the scroll, and you might not see it months from now, but the YouTube you'll be able to find. Or if you want us to find it for you, you could always text me at 561-302-0051 and say talk show, and you want Alice's show. How do I find it again? And I'll text it right back out to you, especially you, Alice, but I'll get the show to you. So what's the biggest mindset shift that your clients, Alice, experience after working with you?
From reaction to direction. Instead of reacting, they're able to take a step back and look at what's happening in their books. They can stop deferring decisions, or having the indecisiveness, right? Certainty becomes a little bit higher, which is good, right? You want to increase your certainty a little bit. So take that indecision out of it.
Right. How do you help clients stop operating out of fear and start leading with confidence? Because we know that there are many businesses out there that are so worried about whether it's their competition or other things. So how do they?
Yeah, pressures. There's a lot of pressures out there. Sure. Yeah. Let's put a process in place. Okay. And when we have a structured process, we can avoid that sort of panic situation, because the client knows that everything is being categorized correctly and accounted for correctly so that, again, they can make those decisions without that panic.
Why do you think so many business owners avoid looking at their numbers, and how do you help them change that?
Yeah, so I get a lot of no, I know what's going on in my business. I run it personally. It's all in my head. Um, that's I hear that all the time. So yes, you think you do. I promise you that there's things you're missing. And again, take your work on your business, not in your business. Take a strategic make a strategic decision to hire an accounting professional like myself or my partner, our business LedgerMax Growth Advisors, to hire us for maybe 2 hours. Consult with us. We offer free consultations, but we also do book reviews and see if it's something valuable for you. You never know. Most likely, yes, it's going to bring you value later. You didn't realize for many of the things we talked about. I don't have to go over and earlier in the interview. That's how I try to approach it.
This has got to be a classic question coming up. What would you say to a founder, I guess a small business owner or entrepreneur who says this, quote, "I'm not a numbers person"?
Yeah, great. No problem, because I love them. No problem. If you're not a numbers person, again, I'm not an attorney. I don't try to practice law. If I need an attorney, I hire an attorney. I don't do financial planning. I hire somebody like you, right? I run payroll, but I'm not a payroll provider, right? I'm going to hire the payroll provider for you. So no problem. Let somebody who loves the numbers, that loves what they're doing, look at that for you. You've got like it's almost like having a little tiny CFO in your pocket. That's kind of what we are. It ends up, a lot of our services, especially as you scale up with us, really become CFO services. I'm looking at operations for you. I'm an operations person. So you're not just getting a bookkeeping and accounting professional. You're getting two people one who has an MS in accounting and the other one has 25 years in operations and business. You know what I mean? So let us do it. Let us take care of it for you. Take that off your plate.
What are some unexpected ways bookkeeping touches every part of a business?
Hiring, marketing, pricing your products, managing your inventory, you name it. Anything that's going through your business, a good bookkeeper can keep tabs on and help you spot any issues. Every aspect of your business is affected by, every aspect of your business can be informed by your books. Every aspect.
How could you tell when a business is ready for advisory level support, not just compliance?
When they get to the stage where they're in a mode of, well, again, many businesses are operating at that compliance level and don't realize how much they can optimize their business, increase their revenues, etc., by moving from that compliance mindset to the strategic, let's take control of our numbers mindset. It's when there's something happens. A lot of times something will happen in the business and they're caught flat-footed, like the grant situation that we experienced earlier this year with the client. That panic, panic ensuing. We're going to miss hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants. I think it was close to $1 million. You better move to, you're not in compliance anymore. You're missing major opportunities. Why miss your opportunity? Get there first. Go to the finish line first.
I hope
Be that
that
person
this,
in control.
yeah, I hope this is a big eye opener for somebody out there listening. At the end, we will ask Alice for her last thoughts and how people could reach out to her. She'll probably say a phone number twice and nice and slow, maybe an email address that's easy to say on the phone, maybe a website if it's not too long. If it is, she'll say it letter by letter and I'll type it in. But what tools or automations do you use to keep your clients' books tight and timely?
Oh yeah, there's some great tools out there. Again, QuickBooks Xero are for small, medium-sized business owners are fantastic tools. There's all kinds of receipt capture tools, bill pay tools. I'm actually a partner with Relay, which is an which is in bleh, which is an online bank, which is fantastic. That they have if you use their pro version, which I think is $30 a month now, they have all kinds of automatic bill pay tools in there, which for other pieces of software is $140 a month. They allow you to have under one bank account 20 additional accounts, so you could separate your funds, put aside money for taxes, put aside money for a website you want to build, I don't know, whatever it is. And then you can get up to 50 credit cards. So within that, cancel virtual cards, you can cancel, put a subscription, cancel, blah, 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 et cetera, all that stuff. So there's a lot of fantastic tools. We try to vet our tools. I try to get my clients to use the same tools that we recommend, because that just makes, again, we want to keep your books clean, but we want to do it in a very cost efficient way. So by utilizing some of these tools, it tightens up again. And I think you're going to see a lot of automation coming in bookkeeping. You're going to have AI doing a lot of it pretty soon. AIs can pick up nuances. There's things where you're buying things and sometimes they're an expense and sometimes they're not an expense. They're part of your an inventory item or something like that, whatever it is. And there's still some issues with QuickBooks and other automation tools picking that up, but it is getting better. So, but we have tools that we recommend.
How do you collaborate with clients who already have a CPA or a CFO?
Fantastic. We'll provide your CFA, your CPA and your CFO with, with your CPA with tax-ready books, and your chief financial officer with any reporting they need to make strategic decisions. You've got clean books. So we work directly with those type of professionals all the time. We can work with your C-suite, no problem.
And our last question, we'll have you have the last thought after that. And what are most important financial indicators you help your clients track regularly?
Gross margin. Are you pricing profitably? Are you selling your services or items, at a profitable, at a good margin? Cash on hand, cash flows is another big one. So, how long can you operate if something happens? Or what are you expecting to come up? Accounts receivable aging, huge one. If you want to, if you want to do something in your business today, go look at your accounts receivable. If you have any aging, tighten that up. Your vendor payments, try and get better, favorable terms on your vendor payment. Tighten up your accounts receivable, get longer vendor payment terms. It's going to give you some breathing room that you could possibly use to expand your business later. On dashboards, get some dashboards going. Get a financial package at the end of each month with these things on it, so you can again make those decisions.
And before I wrap up, do you have any last thoughts that you want to summarize everything we just talked about in the last hour, which could take
a lot
to 3 more hours?
I think we talked. We didn't talk. Which was correct. We didn't talk the nuts and bolts of bookkeeping because, I don't think. Again, get a professional. If you don't want to hire a professional full time, hire one to review what you're doing to make sure that you're not having a mess later. You don't, again, like you said, your grandmother would say, you don't know what you don't know. There's so much in there. If you don't know, wow, it's like a gold mine. I don't get it. I always marvel that you have a gold mine sitting there of data. Data is your own data, and you can compare it to other people's data in some circumstances. There are benchmarks out there. Get to know your data. That's your business. That is actually your business. So don't shy away from it. We can help you be confident in that.
Typing on the screen there. You don't know what you don't know, my grandma.
And Alice Mensch.
And Alice Mensch. Right, as well as Alice
Mensch. I can't. That one's been around forever.
You could carry on grandma's legacy.
Yeah. And my mom and my grandmother and everybody else always used to tell me that stuff too. But yeah.
Right. So On that note, how would you want people to reach out to you? A website,
Sure.
a phone
Yeah, no,
number?
I'm on Skylarverse. Ledger Max Growth Advisors is on Skylarverse. We do have a community there. Excuse me. And we're also on LinkedIn, and we do have a website, ledgermaxadvisors.com. Everything is ledgermaxadvisors.com. LinkedIn, Instagram is LedgerMax Advisors. So it's LinkedIn / whatever the company is. If you just search Ledger Max Growth Advisors, you're going to find us. And then the website is ledgermaxadvisors.com. I do have a contact form there, or shoot me an email, alice@ledgermaxadvisors.com. I'm happy to pass out my phone number as well, 305-803-6654. But honestly, it's great to, try to reach out to us through the website or through email. That's always, you can text me that number too. But anyways, but yeah, please check out our website. I've got some nice blog posts up there. We just got the website up 1st of February. So we're building out that site now. So got some nice posts up there. Take a look. There's some more information up there for you.
And anybody's welcome
And
to
reach out. Reach out. I do offer free consultations. Send me an email and we can talk for 30 minutes. Again, it's alice@ledgermaxadvisors.com. Shoot me an email and I'll shoot you back my Calendly link and let's just chat. I'm always happy to chat with a business owner. Talk to them, talk shop a little bit and see how possibly we could help them. If not, if I can refer them to somebody who can help them or maybe give them some ideas. Happy to do that.
excellent. They're also able to ask me, Paul Finkelstein, for OMG Biz Cafe. Feel free to, I'll put you in touch with Alice as well. You could always text me or call me at 561-302-0051 or wow@omgtalk.com. That'll get to me, and I'll put you guys in touch with Alice. Some of the things that we've been talking about today, I'll just list 4 of them because we talked a lot about everything for like the last hour and 16 minutes. You'll want to save this for sure and pass it around. We talked about Alice's journey, her personal journey, what led her to where she is today, what inspired her to launch Ledger Max Growth Advisors, what core problems that she's solving for business owners with Ledger Max, and where she came up with the name Ledger Max Growth Advisors, and a whole bunch of things. I'll give the last word to Tony as I put up some information on the screen about OMG Talk Show. And here's Tony. I'll play him.
You have been listening to the OMG Podcast with Paul Finkelstein. We can help you build wealth without hogging your time. Schedule a one-on-one with us. Thanks for listening. Join us again for another OMG Podcast segment.
And Alice, of course, or anybody out there, small business owner, workaholic professional, entrepreneur, and you want to have a spotlight interview, come join the OMG Biz Cafe community as Alice did. And when you join our community, the very first one is completely for free. I'm sure Alice could tell us. I mean, what did you think? We're still live, by the way. Do you feel comfortable saying your experience? I'm taking a risk here. What you thought of your experience? But
let me tell you what I think, Paul. No, this was great. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, maybe I was a little stiff getting started, but this was really great. Thank you. I hope I was able to provide some information, and I think it's fantastic that you're doing this to get. I do appreciate it. To get other people's. I listened in on Mary the other day. It's nice. This is a great opportunity that you provided. So yeah, no, this is great.
Fantastic. As this stream is about to get cut off,